Grandfather, we have come today. We have come with a good heart. We have come to share what you has given, the knowledge, the wisdom. You have made my people the caretakers of this earth. Help me, Grandfather, to live up to this responsibility. Help me to share. Share the things that need to be shared. Allow me to speak the words that need to be spoken. Hear my words, Grandfather, for these words, they become my prayer. Help me, Grandfather, so that others can dance, so others can sing. Grandfather, walk with me today and the days to come. Be with us all. Let us learn to respect and to love our mother, the earth in which you have given to us. Grandfather, walk with me on this sacred path.
Vernon Foster, it is a joy that we are together again in the interview studio. Thank you for accepting our invitation.
Well, thank you for bringing the invitation. I mean, I think about this interview that we did last year, and I think what a great opportunity to continue it, to be consistent.
Yes, and we have lots of reason today, starting for this great book, the Great Vision. So you are deeply connected with this book because this reflects the Lakota tradition. And can you tell us a few words about this book published by Herald Publishing House, please?
Yes. Well, first of all, John Nehart, he was a very good friend to Native people. And what the Indian people liked about him authoring these books was that he didn't change the words in translation. You know, oftentimes writers will add their own little flavor to them. But he wrote per word that was spoken to him. And Black Elk Speaks was one of the first books that allowed Indian people to themselves to really look at themselves and to say, wow, is this what we were? Is this where we come from? And how do we regain that? How do we get that back?
What was Black Elk? It is a remarkable personality of the tradition, of your tradition.
Black Elk was a Lakota. I myself am a Klamoth-Modoc Indian from the state of Oregon. But in my youth and in my childhood, I was raised with the Lakotas and the Ojibwe in the Twin Cities. So my knowledge of the Lakota is my influence, and the knowledge of the Ojibwe also my influence. I know my ways of my people, but the world today is focused on Black Elk Speaks, on a lot of the Lakota traditions, and so I follow this as well.
You are one of the few wisdom keepers deeply involved in 1968 in the Native American movement from their cultural rights. So you are deeply immersed in the tradition. So Vernon, do you accept to discuss us a little bit about the value of the ancient tradition, Native American ancient tradition, and the value for our times? You are the keeper of the sacred pipe, Chanumpa. Shall we begin with this?
Yes. Well, for one, I am just one of many people that carry the Chanumpa, who has followed the traditions of the Native people. And first of all, a lot of people have a misconception about what they call a pipe. To us, it is referred to as a Chanumpa. This is a more sacred term because the Chanumpa is probably the strongest tool that we have to make connection with Creator, or to make connection with God. Yes. Outside of our dances and outside of our ceremonies, the Chanumpa is always at the head of that. So to carry the Chanumpa would be somewhat like only a priest, an ordained priest, is allowed to carry certain objects. This is the way the Chanumpa is. It has to be earned by the people. And today, the misconception, people refer to it as a peace pipe. Well,
yes.
The reason it got that term was because it was used at all of the signing of the treaties with the United States government.
Yes.
So when they were signing these peace treaties and they had their Chanumpas with them, people thought, well, this must be a peace pipe. And
the same cliche as Winnetou, for example.
Yeah, it's a misconception. What Indian people were saying when they brought the Chanumpa at the signing of the treaties was equivalent to putting the hand on the Bible and saying, I swear to tell the truth and the whole truth and live up to these promises as long as the river flows and the grass grows. Well, those same words was used by, at that time, America, the soldiers, and they made us many promises. In fact, 487 of those promises. And Indian people, 487 promises, and every single promise has been broken. But because we signed carrying and holding the Chanumpa, Indian people have never, ever broken any of those treaties that we said we would never break. So, yeah.
Yes, so the Chanumpa represents the deeply connection with the universe, with each other. It is beyond words, in fact, Chanumpa.
Yes, and that's our connection to Creator, to God, because there's a lot of symbolism in the Chanumpa. First, the stone, the red color represents the blood of the people, and at that time, a period, it was looked at as the blood of the native people. But in today's world, we begin to look that your blood, my blood, animals' blood, is all the same color. So when we say the blood of the people, we're saying the blood of all my relations, all my relatives. And so the bowl of the Chanumpa is the female. And the stem of the Chanumpa is the male. It's the counterpart. And one cannot work without the other. So
It's a
it
symbol of
brings
totality.
balance, yes. And when we hold the Chanumpa up to pray, the stem, how it is straight, is the path in which we try to walk. And so this is where the saying comes, Indian people walk in balance with Mother Earth. So it's not just walking in balance on the earth, but it's walking with the concept of balance in life. So the Chanumpa has a tremendous amount of sacred symbolism, and we hold it as sacred as anything. In fact, talking about Indians in the 21st century, when we go to court, if we have to go to testify in court for whatever reason, many of our people begin to refuse to place their hand on the Bible. And they bring the Chanumpa to the court and force the courts to recognize, and some have, and they have started to recognize that the meaning behind the Chanumpa is so great to us that it's never been violated, I guess you could call it. Today, the Chanumpa is becoming very popular. People can go out and purchase a Chanumpa. But the
only
traditional
only
way,
object, yes.
Right. In the traditional way, it has to be activated through ceremony. It has to be presented. There's a certain way to present the Chanumpa to somebody. And it's all connected to all the universe, the four elements. So a Chanumpa is presented 4 times, whereas you hand something to somebody, they just take it, and there's a sacred way of presenting the Chanumpa. So carrying a Chanumpa, or being one that carries the Chanumpa, is a great responsibility. And a responsibility because carrying the Chanumpa kind of says that your life no longer belongs to you. It belongs to the people, because Chanumpa belongs to the people. So if you smoke the Chanumpa, then you smoke it with the people. Chanumpa is not a pipe or a cigarette that you smoke for pleasure or enjoyment. You smoke the Chanumpa when it is time and there's a need for prayer. So
yes, this is the root of all smoking. In fact, smoking, it was a very spiritual and profound ritual, isn't it?
yes, yes.
And what has happened? You see, about this great difference between old ways and modern times.
I think what has happened was, of course, there's a assimilation process that took place during boarding school, and not having the rights to be a people that we were. We were not allowed to have our ceremonies, allowed to do these things. And so when it came to smoking, the Chanumpa, or doing ceremony, we always did it with that same thought of balance. So as even today in the 21st century, as intellectual as we are as people, we never lost sight that we are an intuitive person too. So at the same time we become intellectual thinkers, we're also intuitive thinkers and doers. So it's always seeing the other side of things, because all things are connected.
This is balance. To
Yes,
see the other
this is
side.
balance.
Yes.
And it's funny because, you know, we tried to tell the world this many years ago, and they just laughed at us and said it was an Indian thing. It was Indian mumbo jumbo, and and we begin to look at today's world, everything that they denied in us, they now want it. You know, for an example, there was this elderly Indian woman that I was talking to, and she grew up in boarding school, so she was punished for not for speaking the language. And so for years and years, she went through this abuse in boarding school and was punished for speaking Indian. And now that she's a grown woman, and the Indian schools have changed a little bit, they have more Indian teachers, they want her to come in and start teaching the language that she was punished for, you know? Yeah. So we begin to see the shift that people are taking a more serious approach to the Native American culture, and to realize that what we had to share was valuable information.
Yes.
That can help us in everyday life. See, in today's world, we are a very stressful people, you know, meaning people of the world, and even in our culture today, because of the way corporate, the way society has geared us to. So we live under a lot of stress, whereas our people were a very stress-free people. And it all goes back to that foundation of spirituality. Now, when we talk about spirituality, it's really important that people understand spirituality is not a religion, and it is not attached to a dogma.
It is behind all culture, in fact.
Yes. Spirituality is in many terms in Dios, with God. If a person is living in Dios, then you can say he's Indian.
Beautiful, in Dios, to live in Dios. Remarkable, yes. Remarkable.
Yes, because spirituality for Native people was not a separate component to what we did in our life. It became a life habit. So when something becomes a life habit, then it becomes a way of life. Today, in today's world, when we go out and we party and we have good times on Friday night, has become a way of life for many people, you know.
But without Dios. Without Dios.
Yeah, exactly. So what we're talking about is retaining, regaining, and hanging on to the balance concept. You know, we live in a world that has tipped so much out of balance that we have tipped the earth out of balance. So it doesn't spin on that beautiful axis that it used to do. Now it kind of wobbles back and forth. Well, when that happens, it affects everything on it, including us. So we can make changes by changing our way of thinking. Begin to look at things from the other side, a spiritual perspective. So we look at water. Water is beautiful, you know, and water is water. But if we look at it the other side, that's your life. Water is the source of life. Without it, you would die.
We are the water, in fact.
Yes, you were born inside water. Your mother had you inside that little bubble of water. So water is very sacred. And that's looking at the other side of it. It doesn't matter if it comes out of the shower head or the faucet or the hose. Water is water. It's what keeps us alive. But yet, it's kind of ironic how important water is, but yet we have taken it so much for granted.
Yes, it's our right to have the water. Yes, it's not our right.
Yes,
it is
yes.
a relation with a sacred element.
Yes. That, you know, that appears to be man's nature. You know, in California, it's illegal to gather rainwater because
illegal?
the rainwater belongs to the state. If it rains over the state of California, that water belongs to the state. You know, you go to jail if you put a bucket out and try to keep rainwater, you know. And so it's beginning to look at the other side of things. This is where healing is going to come for the earth. The earth has been around millions and millions of years before us, and it has seen trauma. It has seen earthquakes. It has seen volcanoes. It has seen frozen tundras. So the earth is going to survive. When we begin to heal ourselves, then we begin to heal our consciousness. And when our consciousness begins to heal, then once again, we could begin to respect the things that Creator gave to us.
We hardly need to expand our consciousness in order to see that everything is sacred and with what an image. So the Chanumpa, you give 4 times the Chanumpa, you present 4 times, each time connected to one direction. We lose our directions. So. Yeah, allow me now to give you Walk the Talk in Education, the book which is a result of a project, Spirituality Serving Education. So you are in this book. We are very glad. So your work, it is root education.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh.
Yes, and you are worldwide speaker on behalf of Native American people and on the Native American tradition, and I see that the keyword, it's connection, balance.
Yes.
And this is the root education. Without this, we will destroy and we're going to reach our ends.
You know, there's a saying that I say that a lot of scholars, they do not like what I say, but in that balance, we have to, even in education, we need intellect. But if we're not careful, we become so intellectual that we become intellectually dysfunctional. Intellectually retarded, if you will.
Out of balance. Out of balance, yes.
You know, intellectual handicapped is what we become. Because when we become so intellectual, then we begin to seek and look for things logically. And on a big scale, we look for logical answers why things happen.
Yes.
This also happens in our own personal life. And this doesn't allow us to accept the good things and the bad things that happen in our life, you know? So, because we're always looking for that logical answer.
Yes.
So,
why? Yes, and luckily tonight we'll have a great event in Spirit University together with Herald Publishing House, and you will be in a kind of dialogue, cultural dialogue.
yes.
About all those things. Thank you, Vernon.
Yes, this is so important because this is the way people understand, you know, and starting out with Black Elk Speaks, Secret Visions, that's a great start. And, you know, I have to tell you again, and I've said it before, Romanian people, they are the Indians of Europe.
The Indians of Europe.
Very much.
The Indios of Europe.
Indios of Europe, yes. Yes. They have so much, your people and my people, on every level that you could think of in relationship to Native people. And it's a great honor to be here and to be able to share some of these words and knowledge. And when we talk about the 21st century, you know, we're talking about taking ancient ceremonies, taking ancient rituals, and utilizing them in today's world. because the world is changing. The medical world is changing. You know, it has throughout centuries. You know, we had the old ancient tools that we used to pull teeth. Then technology came, and now we have a great technology to do those things. So the medical world has changed. And the new change is the medical world is starting to seek a holistic approach to the medicines. And you know, and it's not the medical world that is changing, it's the patients that are changing the medical world, because the patients are saying, these pills are not working anymore.
They need to recover the whole picture of their life.
Yes, yes. And same with the field of psychology and mental health. They're starting to realize that it's not all about brain function, but it begins to realize that it is heart function as well. It's that balance. So it's really important that once we understand the concept of spiritual healing or spirituality, then in the professional world, we can make that transition without looking at this as, well, back in way back in time when people looked at witches, you know. Witches were Native American people that were born in white bodies, you know. They had the medicines, they had the songs. So today, it's more accepted. And there is many circles throughout the world today that are utilizing Native American ideas and concepts. Now, it's important also to mention that some of it is self-proclaimed. Some of it is not the way of the people. And that has to be made very clear, because when you're talking about spirituality, you're talking about a way of life. And if you want to make changes in other people's lives, you have to be careful, because you can influence their life in a good way or in a bad way. And for me to come and to be able to speak this evening at the university, to show a film, to talk about the Native American people, allows us to begin to open the door to a brighter and broader spectrum.
Yes, and you are thinking and you are working to a project in order to bring those ancient and precious ritual and tradition in order to use them to heal the nowadays society.
Yes, and we can use these methods in our everyday life, individually, everyday life.
Can you give us an example, a concrete example maybe?
Well, one of the things that we do is that we take sage. I don't know if you're familiar with sage,
yes,
but we light it, and women, after they get done doing house cleaning, or the men, after they get done fixing things up, they'll take the sage and they'll walk through the house and smoke it all down. You know?
Yes.
And what they're doing is blessing their home and protecting their home from any energy that comes in. So that's a practice that we can do. Another spiritual practice is everybody takes showers. You want to respect water, learn to respect water. Before you use your soap and your good smelling shampoo, wash your body with water first. Because when you wash your body with water, that's the same as going and jumping in the river. You can use your shampoo, but you're starting to implement balance.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to say about these ways, not only are these ways becoming a weekend workshop, let's say, you know, because that's what they are. Yes. Yeah, they are becoming weekend workshops. Whereas when we talk about the sweat lodge, because everybody in many countries have sweat lodges today, but they fail to realize that we have a sweat lodge in every state and federal penitentiary in the States. we have a sweat lodge in every drug and alcohol program in the States. We have a
very
sweat lodge
important, this.
in our youth programs, in our Indian group homes. So it's not just a spiritual thing that we go and we allow ourselves to sing and to pray and to make that connection. We really use it for healing.
So the sweat lodge, we have also, if you agree, to discuss about the dancing and sun dancer.
Yes.
But maybe what topic do you choose first?
Well, let me talk a little bit about the sweat lodge,
Sweat lodge,
because the sweat lodge is important, because that comes before other ceremonies, because the sweat lodge is a place in which we go to begin to purify our mind, our heart, and our body. And we use the hot stones. And again, taking a look at the other side, people might see these hot stones with steam coming out. Well, that steam, to us, looking at the other side, is the breath of those stones.
It's the breath of the stones.
Yes.
The stones are breathing.
Yes, this is why we call the stones grandfathers, because they are the oldest of all things. So everything about the sweat lodge, the building of it, is done with the thought of balance. So the 12 ribs that are used to place in the ground to make the frame represents the 12 ribs of man.
Remarkable
The red cloth
symbolism, yes.
represents the blood of the female. So once the lodge is constructed, it represents the whole of the earth, Mother Earth. So when we go into the lodge, we are returning to the womb of our mother. So we are going in for a rebirth. We are going in for a spiritual journey to the four directions. So, so there's a lot to the sweat lodge, and it is used for healing purposes. Many drug addicts have become drug-free because of the sweat lodge. Many alcoholics have stopped using the bottle because of the sweat lodge. Many of our children have stopped committing suicide, and it's so beautiful, and I think we'll see some of that this evening, is you'll begin to see that our traditions and culture is becoming so strong within our communities that our young people are coming back. And it's beautiful, because, you know, we almost lost our young people to Beavis and Butthead and MTV, you know?
Beavis and Butthead.
And yeah, Beavis and Butthead almost took our young people. But they are starting to come back and participate in ceremony, and they're loving it. And so they listen to rap music, but now they're starting to form their own rap music using lyrics that enhances the culture and brings pride to them. So we haven't, and I think that's the beauty of the balance, is that we haven't taken MTV away from them. We allow them to have MTV, but we also allow them to come to the ceremonies and participate. And this is what they bring to the ceremonies. So oftentimes when we have ceremonies, we'll have a young person get up and maybe do a rap, and we have some great young talent out there. And so it's integrating ancient beliefs, ancient concepts in today's world.
And in fact, ancient means to be more balanced, to regain your landmarks.
Yes.
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 I was seeing the sweat lodge, and the fact that the entrance, it is not for random. It is the entrance is looking to the fire. Can you tell us about the geography of the sweat lodge a little bit? So where is the fire? Where is
Okay. In the old way, the sweat lodge would face the west direction. And the west direction, the color is black, because it's the directions of dreams and a vision. Now, as I explain this, you begin to feel the connection to not only just the geography of the lodge, but the connection of all things in the universe. So in the west direction, the color is black. It's the direction of dreams and of vision. In America, the storms come from the west, so it represents the directions of the thunder beams. And when thunder comes, the clouds are black, so it represents
So the thunder, your native names, it's connected with the thunder?
Yes, yes, and this is why I often begin my ceremonies in the west direction, to maintain the power behind the name.
So the power behind the name.
Yes.
What about the European names? Have no power, in fact. We will lost the power of our names.
I think that in European, now, I'm probably going to get slapped in the head for this, but European names, to me, still has meaning behind it.
Has meaning.
American European names
Yes.
lost the meaning.
Oh.
Okay, let's take Robert. You take the name Robert in Europe. It's used fully. In America, they cut half of it off, so they screw a guy out of his identity by calling him Rob.
Rob.
Rob. Yeah, Rob, Bob, Don, you know. You know, Donald, Robert, Abraham, you know, has great connection to spirituality.
Yes.
You know, but instead of calling him Abraham, you call him Abe. You know, and so when you talk about names, and as I visit German countries and other countries, I begin to realize that their names are connected to animals, just like native names. And so I think names are important, and people don't recognize it because that is one's identity. And when you do not have an identity, you basically don't have a life.
In order to connect, you have to have an identity.
Yes, exactly.
And what a beautiful image. So you begin with the west direction.
Yes.
I will wonder another person, John, for example. With what direction is it in connection? John may lost his direction.
Yeah. Well, hopefully John will come and sit in the lodge and find his direction. But Jonathan, you know.
Jonathan, yeah.
You know, we find our connection in the center.
The center.
You know? And the center is, let me explain the four directions of this.
Please, Vernon.
And then we will move to the center. So the west direction is black. The direction of dreams, the direction of vision. There's two animals that guard the west direction. One is the black bear. Why would a black bear guard the west direction? And if west is the direction of dreams, what better animal to represent dreaming than a black bear who goes into hibernation and dreams for 3 months?
Yes.
You know? And then the turtle teaches us to go into the darkness of ourself.
Go inside.
And to be able to come back out. Yes. And then we move to the north. The color is white. It is the direction of healing. And for America, the snow comes down from the north country, and it covers up the old tracks that man has left behind and prepares him for the new. Prepares him for the new day, the new time, the new season. The guardian of the north door is the eagle, and he's at the top so he can look down, because that's what the eagle does. It flies high and it looks down upon the earth. So that is the direction of healing. That's what we seek in the lodge when we go in. We go to the north and we begin to pray for our own healing, sing songs for our own healing. After we have done this, then we move to the east, and this is the direction red, and it represents the sun rising in the morning, bringing a brand new day. And it's ironic that everything on this earth changes every single day. except us human beings. You know?
We are remaining
Yes.
fixed.
A bird flies on a different tree. A fish swims
Yes.
behind a different rock.
Waters, yes.
A butterfly finds a different flower to sit on. The limbs blow in the breeze a different direction. Everything changes except us. We still are acting the way we did 30 years ago, 20 years ago. We're still crying and suffering over things that happened in our life many, many years ago.
This is the main root of all suffering.
Yes.
Not flowing, not
yes.
allowing us to
Yes.
be changed, to change.
I heard something beautiful one day, and it's a quote from a great chief. I can't remember who it was. But in his prayer, he says, "Do not take my suffering away."
Do not take my suffering.
Talking to Creator. "Do not take my suffering away, but teach me how to suffer."
Teach me how to suffer.
Yes. Yeah. Because part of that suffering, what we call suffering, is actually humbling ourselves. It's reaching sometimes to the lowest point in our life. It's hitting rock bottom for some people. It's being able to come back out of that with the knowledge of what that suffering is. We don't learn. We don't learn from suffering. We suffer,
we avoid
but
suffering.
we don't learn.
Yes, yes.
And we have to start learning from that. And that's that teaching of teaching me to suffer. So in the East, this is the direction in which we offer our prayers for the world, for our loved ones, for those that need prayer. And then we face the South, which the color is yellow. It is the direction of gratitude and gratefulness. And we give thanks for all that we have experienced on our journey, for our life, the good things in our life, the bad things in our life. And it's just a great direction to be grateful for what we have, and what we've learned and what we've experienced. Because as hard as some teachings are, life is an experience. And sometimes in the Indian way, we would say the harder your life is, the more preparation are you going through to do the bigger things. And we don't get to see that because of fear. It wasn't too long ago that I thought about 3 doors. We're always talking about doors, walking through doors, but we're afraid to walk through doors. So I thought about that, and I said, I think there should be 3 doors. And you have a choice. Door number 1, door number 2, and door number 3. Which one are you afraid to go into, and which one are you not afraid to go into? But the thing is that each one of those doors open up to the same room.
To the same room.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter, in fact.
Doesn't matter. Yeah. You just have to get over your fear, because basically fear has no power. Only the power we provide it. And we provide fear with a lot of power. So the Inipi, the sweat lodge, it allows us to purify our mind, our heart, and our body, to make connection to all universe and to Creator. Many people say we go to church and we talk about God. We say we go to the sweat lodge and we talk with God.
With God.
Yes. And I feel I can say that because I am an ordained minister. People don't know this about me, but I carry an ordainmentship. So I believe that I've seen the other side. It just wasn't as honest as tradition and culture. So I came back to my tradition. I used to be an evangelist. I used to preach in the churches and gather a lot of people. But when I started to get stuck in the dogma of religion, that's when I saw, no, I go back to my ways. So it brought me back to here. But I learned many things, and it was another level of life that I was afraid, or not afraid, to open one of those doors. Yeah.
Yes. So it doesn't matter the door we choose.
No.
We are entering in the same room. We are.
Yes. Yes.
And what a big difference between a spa and a sweat lodge. We
Yes.
are not even purifying our body in the spa.
Yeah,
We are dividing ourselves, only the body. So
Yes. Yes.
fitness and the culture of our body. But what a
Yes.
big difference.
And so the whole of the sweat lodge is all connected to that spirituality, connected to that intellectual, intuitive thinking, you know. So it's a very powerful healing method of our people, and that comes before the Vision Quest, comes before the Sun Dance, you know, because we have to purify ourselves to be able to step into that spiritual realm.
Yes.
So the Sun Dance
Yes, it is the moment
is
of the sun.
another ceremony that was given to the people. Today, the Sun Dance started by the Lakota people, and today it's spread not just within the nation of the United States, but it has gone out of the nation, and now they have Sun Dances in Europe. I just found one a few months ago that they have a Sun Dance here in Europe. They have a Sun Dance in Brazil. They have Sun Dance all over the world. So again, it's one of those things that in order to really understand the definition, the teaching behind the Sun Dance, you have to go to the origins of it, the original sources. Because the Sun Dance is more than just what people think. A lot of people think there's a lot of suffering that goes on. Well, there's something behind that suffering. First of all, the Sun Dance is a very manly dance, very male dance. But it is so full of female symbolism to counteract that balance.
Yes. So again, the balance.
Yes. So the men are usually the dancers, and we use a tree, and we stand it up in the middle of the dance circle, and ropes are tied to the top of the tree, and we secure them because these ropes are going to eventually be placed on the chest of the dancer, and so he will pierce. Now, the Sundance concept comes from women, our Native women, giving birth to children. It's the most beautiful thing a woman can do, is to give life to a child. But there's a lot of pain that goes with that. We enjoy our children. Us men, we enjoy our sons and daughters. But we did not suffer the pain our women did to give us such a beautiful child. So the Sundance allows us to show our women that we have a much respect for them, that we're willing to emanate childbirth. So the piercing, when we pierce, that's painful, but we don't know if it's as painful as a woman going through labor.
Right, yes.
So when we insert the sticks in there and blood flows down, this represents the blood that a woman loses during birth. The rope that is used to attach us to the tree represents the umbilical cord. And so we dance for 4 days and 4 nights, or 4 days with no food and no water.
4 days, and for how many hours?
It depends on the dance. Sometimes I've been at dances where we start at 3 o'clock in the morning before the sun rises, and we finish at 10 o'clock at night. You know,
10 o'clock
constant,
at night.
constant dancing.
With no water?
And no food, no water. And you know, you go to sleep for a couple hours and you get up and you do it again for 4 days. And that 4 days represents 4 days of labor that a woman goes through. So as we're dancing, eventually we pull on the cord until it breaks free. The flesh breaks and frees us from the rope. So what that represents is the cutting of the umbilical cord. So it becomes a rebirth. We wear a skirt, you know, a blanket that we wrap around our waist represents the skirts that women wear during ceremony. We wear bracelets and anklets, and we adorn ourselves as a woman would with these anklets made of sage and bracelets. We wear a crown made of sage. We blow on a whistle, an eagle bone whistle, and the end of that is attached a woman's feather. So the Sun Dance is a dance of life. That's what it is.
With pain in it.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. And as you're dancing, a lot of people say, oh, well, it's so painful, it's so painful. But if you're truly a dancer, you are dancing yourself into a frame or a state of mind that, sure, you feel the pain, but the pain is not as painful as it looks or as it seems, because you're in this spiritual space. The drums are going to keep the rhythm, and that's a hard task for the drummers to keep drumming for 4 days and singing, you know, non-stop, because they can't stop in their songs. Once the dance begins, they have to sing until, you know, till it's complete. So sometimes they only get hours of sleep in the nighttime, and they have to get up and start drumming again. So every aspect of the Sun Dance is a very time-consuming, but a very spiritual dance. I've seen miracles, what we would call miracles. I've seen a little boy go up to the tree and touch the tree while the Sun Dance was going on, and they pushed him up in a wheelchair. And he got out of that wheelchair and he walked out of the arbor. A buffalo has come into the dance circle. You know, one time a buffalo just kind of walked in the circle and hung out there and turned around and left, which is a very strong symbol to have a buffalo walk amongst the people. Had an eagle come and sit in the tree, and one time we had a hawk come and land in the tree, and then one of our leaders took the hawk and placed it in his hand and took it around and let everybody touch it. And then he put it back at the tree, and that hawk danced, and finally it flew away. You know, so these things are signs, you know. But in today's world,
we lost our signs.
We are blind to these signs, you know. So I think that's what part of our prayer is about, is asking Creator to allow us to see what we need to see.
To see what we need to see, yes.
Yeah, because there are things that you cannot see with the naked eye. And sight doesn't always mean seeing visually. Seeing can also be a feeling. Yeah, it's that balance. It's that balance. So, you know, getting back to the ceremonies, the Sun Dance was outlawed. We were not allowed to do the Sun Dance. So it's a dance that came back. And our women, they knew the Sun Dance. They hid it during the time that what we call our American Holocaust, if you will. It was not allowed. So our women took it underground and they hung on to it. And then when the time came back, they said, here's the dance, here's the Sun Dance. You guys, do it again.
Vernon Foster, we have only 3 minutes.
Okay.
So thank you very much again for your words. You speak your beautiful words, and hope we meet again.
Yes, well, it's been a great honor to be here with you again, and to share with the Romanian people, because I really feel a spiritual connection with the people of my culture and the people of your culture. And so it's a great honor. And tonight is going to be another honor where we get to open the door in a wider spectrum. So,
thank you. So you agreed to conclude our program with a song.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Da